welcome back to the Shanehofmanshow, and this is episode 2. And in today's episode, we got a whole bunch of things to go over today. The fallout between my adventures with Superman, the first 2 episodes, right? My first impressions on that, the fallout between Cody Rhodes and Logan Paul, and some of the other things that happened at King of the Ring, including the winner of King of the Ring. We're going to talk about that, and Queen of the Ring, right? We're going to talk about that stuff, an update on my professional wrestling career, and lastly, of course, this is part fitness show, we got to talk about how to break through strength and plateaus. So, lots to go over on today's episode. Let's get to it. So, my adventures with Superman. First 2 episodes dropped on Max Sunday. Yeah, they dropped Sunday, Saturday night, midnight, so Sunday. Yeah, they dropped Sunday, and we're going to talk about it. So, the show, I don't want to give too many spoiler warning, because I am going to talk spoilers on it. I guess we'll go to a non-spoiler part first. So, not spoilery, it was good, right? Just my impressions on it. I think it picks up after season 1 quite well. It answers some questions that season 1 gave that never answered toward the end of the season. We start to get those answers now as we approach into season 2. So that's nice. Also elaborates on some of the stuff in season 1, which is really awesome, really cool to see. And introduces us to some themes, some things that are going to happen down the road, which I'm going to talk about in just a moment, spoilers, and introduces us to some characters. And we're going to go over spoiler stuff now. So if you don't want to be spoiled, skip to the next section of the show, because we're going to spoil it. So, ready? Okay, so here's what happens, basically. What happens is we're opened up to the show. Clark is basically finding out about the truth of his people, that they are a peaceful people, that they are not evil, right? He meets his father, the hologram of his real father, Jor-El, for the first time. And he finally starts to understand the truth about what happened to Krypton and that he is the last known survivor. Except for one, his cousin Kara, who he learns in episode 1 is alive. And that starts that segment of the journey of finding Kara. So we have not gotten to finding her in the first 2 episodes, but he is now on the path. He knows she's alive. He knows that she is somewhere on Earth. Now he's beginning to try and search for her. We also pick off where Sam, right, Lois's dad, General Sam, has been kidnapped by Amanda Waller and is being interrogated for the Superman mission. And Lois wants Clark, Superman, to go help find him. We get an update that Jimmy is now one of the leaders at the Daily Planet for Flamebird, right, his little social media thing. So we follow him and his new challenge of being a leader. We get more little nuggets of Lois and Clark's relationship, how their dynamic is, since they're kind of deeper into their relationship now. It's a nice dynamic to see. They both just knock it out of the park with that. It's great to see that. That element of it is perfect. And we get to episode 2, which is kind of a break-in type deal where Lois and Clark break into a facility to try and free Lois's dad, as well as find out what's been happening to some people going missing. And we find out that they're being experimented on into like living weapons from Kryptonian technology. Also, we find out that in that facility is a beaker, right, like a signal communicator to find Kara. And then at the end of the episode, Lex Luthor himself is introduced. So, cool episode. What are my thoughts on it? I like it. I'm liking it so far. I'm interested to see where they're going to go with Lex Luthor. He still has hair, and he's clearly young. He's not a successful businessman. He's clearly a young tech kid. So I'm interested to see where they're going to go with his character, because he's not the classic Lex Luthor at all. I don't hate that, right? They're doing a very specific and different take on Superman with this show. In some elements, it is classic Superman to the nature of his character and hope and, being tough and being strong and happy and hopeful. And that element is classic Superman, and the suit looks great. But in other elements, it's a very new spin. I'm not used to this. Lois Lane looks different, right? Jimmy looks different. They kind of act different than usual. Lois is very innocent and very spunky, which she's typically spunky in the comics and in the old shows, but she has just a different, more quirky personality to her than usual. That's what I'm looking for, quirky. She's usually not this quirky. I like this version of Lois a lot. I like this version of Clark a lot. And I'm interested to see if I'll like this version of Lex. We'll have to see. But yeah, so far, very good first few impressions. on My Adventures with Superman. I got nothing more to say about that other than just go watch it yourself. It's great. Next up on the show, we've got to talk about Spider-Man. I don't know what that was, but Spider-Man. So there's been a lot of detail released of Spider-Man freshman year or Spider-Man, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, whatever Disney's going to call their new show. And a lot of people are just wishing after the revival of X-Men 97 that they would just do Spider-Man 98, which is like the revival of Spider-Man, the animated series back when I was growing up, right? Where the over-the-top actor of "Get back here, Shocker!" Right, that guy, yeah. It was awesome. It was a fun show. It was a silly show. But people are kind of hoping to revive that show, maybe make it a different spin. He found Mary Jane, obviously, if you haven't seen the season 5 ending of Spider-Man, the animated series, where she goes missing in the multiverse. He ends up finding her. And we see that in X-Men 97. That cliffhanger was answered. And I feel like that is a closing out to the show. Now, we're going to compare Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man to Spider-Man 98. Which one would I prefer? Which one does a lot of other people prefer, and why? Now, I wish we could get both. I'm just a huge Spider-Man fan. I'm playing the game again on New Game Plus as of lately. I love it. It's fun. I'm a huge Spidey fan. I've got the Superman, Batman, Spider-Man tattoo here. Real quick flex with the camera, right? Love all that. But it's obvious we're not going to get both because Disney doesn't want to compete with itself on Spider-Man property. Now, wouldn't someone say, oh, well, both would just make a ton of money? It's not like a movie where you can release it at different points of the year, right? In case of a show, people are going to get bored of a show very easily. So the average fan, not the super fan like me, but the average fan, we'll use my girlfriend, for example, right? If I were to say, honey, they're dropping 2 Spider-Man shows on Disney Plus after we watch, say, Spider-Man 98, she's not going to go, babe, we just watched Spider-Man. I don't want to watch another whole Spider-Man show. And keeping in mind, Spider-Man 98 would be a sequel to Spider-Man the Animated Series and would be pushed to a very particular audience of people that have already watched the early show, which does have the nostalgia factor to it, but would also alienate audience that would want to see a brand new Spider-Man show, which Spider-Man, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man provides. However, here's what I'm going to think most people want versus what myself want. I believe most people probably want a revival of Spider-Man 98. I know it sounds weird and contradictory based on what I just said, but I'll tell you why. Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is yet again another kind-of-ish reboot and another new animation style of Spider-Man, where they're basically just copying Spectacular Spider-Man and Disneyifying it for the MCU. Now, my worry is, this is for the hardcore Spider-Man fans, right? They're just going to try to be Spectacular Spider-Man, but not live up to what that once was. What I mean by that is I know there's different characters, right? I know that I think Harry Osborn has been confirmed and Norman Osborn's been confirmed for the show, but they're doing some stuff a little differently, right? But Spectacular Spider-Man already handled High School Spider-Man, and they did it so well that I just don't see a world where High School Spider-Man can be done again after Tom Holland in the MCU, after Spectacular Spider-Man, right? I think High School Spider-Man has run its course, and I just don't think people want to see Spider-Man in high school anymore. Versus Spider-Man 98, where we get a more adult take on Spider-Man and an adult take on Peter Parker, which, after playing the Spider-Man video games and seeing the sales for that crap, like over 1 million in sales, like the first weekend or something, whatever, right? Like 1 million copies sold. People like adult Spider-Man. Spider-Man 98 would be able to provide an adult Peter Parker. And I think that more people want to see adult Spider-Man because a lot of the fans that loved that show were kids when that came out. And we've grown with Peter. A lot of fans have grown with Peter. And now Spider-Man fans are typically all in adult now, right? Or the classic fans are now adults and can relate more to an adult level Peter Parker, which is why I think besides the gameplay being amazing, why the game did so well on a story basis, was we got adult Peter Parker. It's harder for me to relate to high school Peter Parker now that I'm a 24-year-old adult paying bills. It's more easy to relate to that Peter Parker now. I've grown with the character. So I think that a lot of people, including myself, A, there's the nostalgia hit of what Spider-Man 98 can do, but B, you can tell adult stories. I'm not saying like it has to be for adults. Obviously, kids will like Spider-Man and will like all that stuff, right? But as far as like the high school stuff, we have Spectacular Spider-Man. We've had Marvel Spider-Man that just recently did it. It was an animated show. They didn't do so well a couple years ago. Like, I didn't watch it completely, but I've heard around it. You had MCU Spider-Man of him being in high school. I think it's time to take a shift. And what better way to take a shift and ride the success of X-Men 97 and do it with Spider-Man 98? Now, if they do, I'm not saying Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man will be bad. I actually think it'll be very good. I just don't know if, again, it's going to be compared to Spectacular Spider-Man, and I don't think that's a comparison that show wins. I don't. I think that Spider-Man 98 ultimately will get better praise from critics and more appreciation from fans if I was putting my bet on it and what would make more money. Also, when you think of what will make more money, people are going to look at Spider-Man 98 and go, oh, I remember that. Oh, that seemed familiar to me. Let me check that out. Oh, it's a new Spider-Man show. That kind of looks right. Versus Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, where a lot of people are going to be like, oh, new Spider-Man show. I think that if you're going to do one or the other, continuing the universe of X-Men 97 and advancing a new, maybe animated universe can put Marvel in a great direction, because now that opens the door to continuing the Marvel animated universe, right? And that larger scale there versus trying to enhance the MCU with an animated thing that you now have to, you're limited on what you can do because you have to cross it into the MCU. I just think that you can tell so much better Spider-Man stories without having to worry about being tied to the MCU and this and that if you just do Spider-Man 98. The show, and let's get into my journey as a pro wrestler. Or should we say my end to my journey as a pro wrestler. Funny enough, episode 1, I kind of talked about my recovery as a pro wrestler and some of the aspects that went about that and how I love to challenge myself with it. And all that stays true, but you slowly realize when your fitness business starts to grow and you get more opportunities in that, how time just starts to wither down. You have to make a choice. That and also some health reasons I decided I want to be open-ended with is, you get super sore and that wasn't a problem, but there's head injuries that can come into play, and I was getting some headaches and stuff. And so I ultimately decided that the best decision I could do for my health and because just business was growing and I was running out of time and I'm chasing all these other endeavors is I don't have time to travel all around Florida on a Friday when I have to be up at 5 a.m. on a Saturday for business and, furthering the help of my clients and my future clients and my online endeavors and other opportunities that are coming my way. And the success of that, when that brings me so much happiness, you had to make a choice. And for me, although unfortunately I will never hold the WWE Championship, I was so grateful just to be able to step in that ring and do the stuff that I did. To be on the other side of those ropes just meant so much. It was a cool experience, and I was very grateful for it. Still friends with my buddy Dustin Bosworth, who will be in NWA June 1st competing. By the time this goes up, that'll probably be done. And the cool thing is I'm going to be doing a podcast with him where I ask him, we talk all about pro wrestling together, all about life stuff together, and talk about his experience as a pro wrestler, my experience, the super limited experience that I had, and the 20 decades of experience from him, toll it had on his body. There would be no shortage of wrestling content coming from the show. It'll just be more of me in a speculation and a more fun role of analyzing what's going on in WWE rather than me pursuing it as like a career path or as a goal path anymore. My calling is a little different. I enjoy doing the show as a hobby, but you can only do so much before you realize you're just so stretched on time. And so for me, that hobby has been halted for now. That doesn't mean I won't do it sometime down the line. I might at some point when I get a lot of things in order and get some more time back into me. Maybe that's something I'd revisit and that I want to revisit. But as of now, so grateful to have been able to do it. But have to put the brakes on that for now. Super excited to have Dustin on the show as my first guest for the Shane Hoffman Show and really talk to him about his experiences. I'm going to hope to bring more guests onto the Shane Hoffman Show, some motivation speakers and pro wrestlers as my friend Dustin, my mentor in fitness, just a lot of ways that we can advance the show because the show is about fantasy fitness fun, right? A whole broad topic of things, not just one particular thing. So I'm excited to be able to do that and still talk about wrestling, right? Just not my experience as it anymore because for now that endeavor has been halted. Next portion of the show, King of the Ring discussion. Post King of the Ring discussion. It is now Thursday, so I'm late in the game with this, but that is okay. So King of the Ring. It was great. I watched clips of it. I didn't get to watch the whole thing because I was super busy, but I did see the things we're going to talk about today, which is Logan Paul versus Cody Rhodes, and we are going to talk about Gunther versus Randy Orton. Gunther obviously winning the King of the Ring, and my opinions on that. But Cody Rhodes versus Logan Paul. The end result being Cody Rhodes beating Logan Paul. And what do I think is going to happen going forward? Well, let's do that. Let's dive into that first. First of all, the match. The match was incredible. I don't care what you think about Logan Paul. Damn, he's good. Damn, he's good. This production crew of WWE with that 360 drone shot as he jumps off the ropes and takes Cody through the table. Incredible. Great. Wonderful. The finish for the match, fantastic. Logan playing his role as a heel so well, bringing out the brass knuckles and Michael Cole's involvement of, you're just a loser. You're a loser, right? Calling him a loser, saying, you weren't going to use the brass knuckles. You said you weren't. And Logan saying, I can kick your head off, Michael Cole. Just awesome, awesome storytelling between getting Michael Cole involved there. And then obviously Cody Rhodes, as Logan's about to get counted out. No! He says, no to the ref. No. He needs to learn. He needs to learn. Let me beat him. I love that. That was awesome. Cody Rhodes being the ultimate babyface there. Logan Paul being the ultimate heel. And then that ending of just Logan getting out the brass knuckles. And I think it was like one of the announcers kind of getting involved, not letting Logan use him. He going, who are you? And then turning around into the finish of Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes going, I'm Cody Rhodes, bitch. And then he hits him with the 3 crossroads. 1, 2, 3. Amazing, 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 amazing finish to an amazing match. Hats off to both those guys. Makes me sad that I'll never be in the ring with any of them. But I get to watch it on TV, and I have the game, so I can always just utilize my character in the video game, 2K24, and pretend to face them. But wow, what a fantastic match. What do I think is going to happen now? Here's what I'd like to happen versus what's probably going to happen. What I'd like to happen with Logan Paul versus what I think what's going to happen with Logan Paul. I'd like for Jey Uso to be the guy to beat Logan Paul. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be LA Knight. Now, I love LA Knight. I want LA Knight to be a world champion someday when that time's right. But maybe they'll give Jey Uso Money in the Bank. I actually think that'd be great, and then we can kind of wait with him for a while now that I'm thinking about it. So maybe I do agree with having LA Knight do it. But I would have liked Jey Uso to win his first singles title. But maybe, hopefully, I think we're getting ahead of ourselves with Money in the Bank speculation, so we'll do that. I'll have to do that soon. I'm getting ahead of myself there. But staying on track with what I think is going to happen with the U.S. title. What I'd like is for it to be Jey Uso, but I'm kind of having a change of thought as I think about it now, more of what I think you can do with Jey Uso. We'll make a whole separate topic on that maybe next week. I'll write that down for the Shanehofmanshow episode 3. But I think, LA Knight's going to be the guy at SummerSlam to beat Logan Paul in Cleveland, Ohio. I think that's brilliant storytelling. They're killing it right now. And we'll have to see how that goes. That's what I think is going to happen. We'll have to see. Maybe that'll change. Tomorrow's Friday, so maybe that'll change on SmackDown. We'll see. Now, as for Cody Rhodes, when Gunther beat Randy Orton, I know that's talk about in a minute, right? But spoiler alert, right? Gunther beats Randy Orton for King of the Ring, and he chooses the World Heavyweight Championship. So, what does that mean for Cody Rhodes? I think we're going to do Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton, and that's just going to be a banger. I think they're going to do Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton for SummerSlam, and I think that's just going to be a fantastic match. There's so much you can do with Randy Orton being the mentor to Cody Rhodes, and there's just so much you can do to play around with that. I think that's what we're going for SummerSlam, and if they do it right, it'll be one of the best. It'll be one of the best storytelling matches post WrestleMania that they can do, especially for Cody's title being the Super Championship, right? So, yeah, that'll be very fun to see. And last portion of the show here, the fitness portion, how to break through strength and hypertrophy/aesthetic plateaus. I love this topic because a lot of people, everyone should know, but maybe some people don't, right? As someone who has his degree in the fitness world, who's been a coach for 6 years and has a lot of endeavors in it right now, plateaus are naturally going to happen. I go through them myself. Everybody that has ever worked out ever is going to run into a plateau, but the key is that you do not quit during a plateau. It is that you fight through it, right? So how do we do that? Well, first things first, there are many simple ways to break through it, such as exercise tempo changes, right? Switching up the exercises you're using, switching your split, adding pauses, which we're going to talk about in a little more detail, and all that stuff, right? But the main thing that I see happening with a plateau is just getting comfortable. When is the last time you have really felt the muscle work during a set? What I mean is, say we're doing a bicep curl, right? We're here, we're doing a bicep curl, right? So I'm trying to get this up here, right? I got my arm out here. I'm doing a nice slow curl, right? When's the last time you really felt every phase of the movement, the concentric, the way up, the isometric hold here, and the eccentric on the way down, right? When's the last time you really felt throughout the entire lift that full contraction? Or my favorite example would be a squat. When you sit into the squat on your descend and then your ascend on the way up, do you feel your legs working every step of the movement? If you're hitting a plateau with strength, one of my favorite ways to break through this plateau like a fucking thing of glass is simple. Slow down. Cut the weight in half. Do a deload, so to speak, right? Where we cut the weight in half. But instead of challenging yourself through a high strength and volume, or no, not high volume, excuse me, a high strength, high intense set, slow it down. Feel the muscles work. Sit down slow. Count to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And go through your checklist of things, right? For the squat, for example, it's, do I have a proper core brace? Do I have a proper stability of my spine with my braced core, right? What am I feeling on the way down? Do I feel my legs being loaded? Do I feel my butt being loaded? Where's my foot placement? Are my feet closer together, targeting more of my quad, or are they further apart? Am I mainly targeting my hips and the outer layer here, right? What are my mobility restrictions that are contributing to me not feeling this exercise correctly or not getting stronger? From there, when you stand up out of a squat, right? If we're using the squat as an example, what do I feel? Go slow and look in the mirror. Are you standing through your back? Are you letting your back arch as you stand up through the movement, taking the pressure off your legs? Or are we fully keeping that core engaged and standing, pushing the floor away with our feet, feeling our legs? As you and you don't have to do this for long, just try it for like a week or two, right? As you start to refix and go back to the drawing board and head back to basics and re-understand these movements and retrain your brain to feel the muscles work, then you can go back to adding your weight again, and you'll slowly start to be able to break through those strength plateaus because those muscles are establishing another important connection, right? We're enhancing that neural connection that we might have lost over time by just going through the motions. Same thing with a bench press. What do we feel? Are we pinching our shoulder blades together, right? Are we pretending to bend the bar, getting our lats involved, or are we just letting the shoulders shrug up and not having a stable base on our shoulder blades? This can go for every exercise. Adding pauses. Come down, pause. Do a pause. And then, can you get that weight off you? Have a spotter, please. Disclosure and disclaimer, have a spotter and don't do this like stupidly, right? Don't put 300 pounds on the bar and pause it there if you can't handle it. But pause. Do we have the strength and good form to push that weight back up? Pause at the bottom of your squat. Can you get up out of that hole? Pause at your deadlift. Do you feel your back on fire? You shouldn't. You should feel your butt, your hips, and your hamstrings working together to push that bar through. Pause. The best way to break through a plateau is to pause because it allows you to feel what you're supposed to actually feel. And when we switch the segue over to aesthetics, not only is this going to help you understand and build a better connection with the muscle, but the better connection you build with your muscle, the more motor units you can recruit, the more range of motion you can recruit and go through, the bigger the muscle is going to grow. In order to have a muscle grow, you need to establish a connection with it so that way the muscle knows what it's doing and the muscle can drive the movement. If you are squatting, but you're squatting through your back, your legs will not grow. If you're bench pressing, but you're bench pressing with the dominance of your shoulders, your chest won't grow. If you're shoulder pressing and you don't have proper shoulder mobility, or you have bad rotator cuffs back there, you're going to arch your back through the movement and your shoulders won't grow. These are things you need to be aware of, and the easiest way to be aware of them is, of course, we could do tempo changes to go slower and pause. Pause. Take a break. Put the brakes on. You're taking one step back for 20 jumps forward. I know some people have a hard time with that. They think more weight, more sets, more reps, harder every week, harder. No, sometimes it's break. If you're not progressing, that means something is wrong and you need to put the brakes on and evaluate. Pause. Feel. Okay? So thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Shane Hoffman Show today. Thank you guys so much for coming back for episode 2. I cannot wait for episode 3 coming at you guys soon. Take care. Have an awesome week.